Okay. Let's see. Okay, tell me. That's better. Hello, welcome. My name's Kylie. And sorry about that, a little bit of a glitch with the sound. There's so many buttons to press. Anyway, just goes to show I may not be able to run a webinar seamlessly, even though I have run dozens and dozens of these things, but I can publish a book, no problem. So today is all about dispelling the myths around self-publishing. I want you as a new or wannabe author, I want you to feel completely confident and completely at ease about this whole process of self-publishing. So that's what today's webinar is all about. Now, you will notice there is a chat box underneath, and if you would like to drop in a hello, tell me who you are, where you are, what your story is, if you have already published a book, maybe, if you were dreaming about publishing a book, if it's something that you want to do but you haven't done it because you've been, you have questions that you don't know how to answer them, or you feel like it's all too much work. Especially if you are thinking about handing it off to someone else. So if you're in the process of writing a book and you're like, I'll employ a publishing company, or I'll get someone else to do that part of it. If that is you, I want to hear from you. So please, 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 any questions that you have throughout the webinar, just drop them in that chat box you'll notice at the bottom of the screen if you're viewing this live. And if you're viewing it in replay, well, I'm not going to be able to answer your questions on the webinar, obviously. So it is now 10 o'clock on the dot, and I am a stickler for time. I like to, if I say we're going to start at 10, which it is for me, then that's what we're going to do. So let's kick this off. This is the 6 steps to self-publish. And I'm going to be breaking it down, demystifying it and simplifying it so that you can get that book out of your head and into the world, because I believe there is so many amazing stories, so much incredible information that people have in their heads, and it's wonderful to be able to share it with, the group of people that in your circle, in your industry, people that know you. But a book gives you access to the world. It gives you access to the millions and millions of people on Amazon. And once they hear your story, once they understand your knowledge and your skills, it really opens up a lot of doors for you. And of course, the benefits flow onto them. It really is that ripple effect. And I love that we're living in a world that is so, there are so few barriers. The distances that once held us back no longer do with this online world. I mean, here I am sitting in in my office in Sydney on a beautiful winter's morning, and I know there's people all over the world that are listening to this. It's nighttime last night in the US. It's some other time in the UK, I'm not sure. In India, it's early in the morning. So I think the point is that the boundaries that used to exist in all parts of the world, different industries, have been broken down, and publishing is no different. What once was the left only to the elite is now for everyone. Anyone who has something worthwhile saying can say it. What I want to do is not only show you how easy it is, but I also want to encourage you to put a product out that you can be proud of, that doesn't look self-published. And I don't even like to, I'm putting the air quotes around self-published, because there is this stigma attached with self-publishing, which is rapidly being broken down. But the point is that you can put any old crap up there on the on Amazon, and there's no kind of quality control. So there is a lot of less than favorable, sort of items up there, and that's what gives self-publishing a bad name. But if you are a self-publisher who I guess has integrity and wants to put out a product that is of quality, then that means that your book can stand up there next to the absolute, I suppose next to the best that's out there, the most professionally produced book that's out there, and it can hold its own. And that's what we should be doing. We should be putting out items that are of quality. People do judge a book by its cover, 100%. The whole reason that adage came about is because people do it. You look at the cover and you make a split-second decision. So if your cover is not professional, then everything else falls down. Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So again, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, I've got my, I'm checking things out over here on this screen. So drop them in there and I will answer them. But for now, just drop in and say hi and tell me where you're from. Tell me what your stage of publishing is, because I would love to get to know you a little bit more as well. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start with the we're going to start. There we go. That's what I want to do. With the presentation that I've got together for you. And this is really going through the system that I have used for myself, that I have used with many of my my coaching clients, people that I mentor on their author journey, and it's something that I want to introduce to you. I also have a very exciting offer, which I will be talking about as we get to the end, once I've given you a lot of the actual nuts and bolts. I'm going to be talking about my offer, the Success Author System, which uses this. You can see the Sow, Cultivate, Harvest, which uses this system to take you into the successful author stage. So I'm going to be talking about that as well at the end. And I'm also going to have some, for people who are interested in that, I'm going to have some special deals that you can take advantage of. Anyway, more about that in a little bit. What I want to do now is talk about these 6 steps. So I talk to people all the time about self-publishing because it's my thing. It's a topic on my agenda all the time, and I am amazed at how much misinformation is out there. So it really is quite incredible how people believe that self-publishing is difficult, costly, very highly technical. It's something that, by the time they've written their book, they don't have any bandwidth left to sort of learn a whole new technology. So I know people who have handed this part of the process off to a company, and there are companies out there who will charge you a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars to do your publishing for you. It's still known as self-publishing, but they kind of take it over and say, oh, it's too complicated for you. You poor little author, you only know about words. We'll do this part for you. And I just shake my head and occasionally shake my fists, because this is a total industry that has been created on a lie. They're misrepresenting reality. It is not difficult, and I'm here to show you just how not difficult it is. Now, the other reason that I'm really against handing off to a publishing company, and now let me just clarify. I'm not talking about getting traditionally published, which is when a publishing company will pay you a certain amount of money and then will take pretty much all of your royalties for the rest of time, but they will publish the book for you, and they basically take the whole thing off your hands and they own it. In effect, they own it. You own about 8%, they own about 92%. Now, that's how most traditionally published books are done. That is not what I'm talking about. I don't recommend that. I think that is also a really, poor way of getting your book out into the world. I've done whole webinars on that topic, so I'm not going to go into it too much here, but suffice to say, I think self-publishing is the way to go. What I'm talking about is when you hire a company, they're kind of like a hybrid. It's still self-publishing, but they do it for you. So you'll still have plenty of input. You own all of your royalties and all of that, but you pay them a chunk of money. It's usually up to $5,000, even more. And they kind of do pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about in this webinar today. No, I lie. They do less than what I'm going to be talking about in this webinar. They do the first 4 steps, I think, or yeah, they do, I think maybe do 4 of these steps. They don't do any marketing for you because they don't know how to market. They're not a marketing company. They simply do the publishing. I'm going to show you why you do not need to pay them $5,000. You can do it yourself. So let's get started. Any questions, drop them in the chat box, please, because I am always happy to answer questions. You pick my brain because I have, well, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what this is about. Or why would you write a book? Okay, there are so many reasons. I'm talking about nonfiction here because that's what I do. I have written fiction books as well, but I love nonfiction because I love the way that you can share your skill, your knowledge, and you know, my first book was about building a successful massage business, and I'm actually in the process of writing a spin-off, which is really not specifically talking to massage therapists, but it's talking about how to manage your energy when you have your own business. Now, this is stuff that I'm passionate about, and I will talk about until the cows come home. I can write a book about it, and I can find, you know, 100, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 people out there who are also passionate about it or who also need to hear this. Now, if I just went down to my local coffee shop, I'm not going to find 10,000 people. I'm probably not even going to find one person who cares about this. That's what a book can do. Build authority and recognition, without a doubt. You can use a book as a way to leverage yourself within your industry. Once you say you are a published author, it changes everything. People look at you differently. They do. They absolutely do. Now, you know, I'm sure you've heard the statistics that only 1% of people there's something like 90% of people think they want to write a book, but only 1% or less than 1% do, or something like that. Anyway, the point is that everyone would love to write a book, but most people don't. And that's why you get that recognition and the authority, because it is something that most people don't do, even though they want to. Oh, I'd love to write a book one day, is the story that people are telling themselves. Today, I'm here to blow that story out of the water and say, no, I'm going to write a book today. Not only write it, but get it published, because it can happen. It can happen in a matter of months. And imagine being able to hand out a book to a prospective client rather than a business card. I mean, this is the kind of thing that people are doing with books. You know, it's very powerful. Definitely, if you have something important to say, a lot of people are writing a book about the topic they're passionate about. I'm very much in this category. It really allows you to dig so deep into a topic and explore it. You learn a lot about yourself while you're doing this. So it's a real journey. And leaving a legacy. Look, I think for some people, the concept of being able to leave something behind is very enticing as well. So let's see though. There are some things that hold people back, and that is, I guess, the reason why so many people dream about it but don't do it. And these are the kind of things that go on. This is the self-talk. And let me know in the chat box if you have had any of these. If you have had any of these sort of thoughts. How do I get it out there? How do I market it? And what even is marketing a book? How does that happen? How do you sell your book? Do you just put it up on Amazon and then people just randomly find it and buy it? So these are often stumbling blocks or self-talk that stops people from taking that next step. So let's look at that. Sorry. Yeah, let's look at that and see what that actually is all about. But there's also this second stumbling block, which is all around the self-publishing process itself, that it is difficult, that it's going to take a lot of time, that it's going to cost a lot of money, and that when you self-publish, the book that you put out there is of a lesser quality, that somehow people will be able to look at it and go, oh, that's a sort of crappy self-published book. That's not as good. Have you had any of these thoughts yourself? Are you guilty of this self-talk at all? Because if you are, you're not alone. This is so common. People are, these are the myths they believe. And here, oh, okay, there's people outside beeping their horns. Oh my goodness, they're so rude. Anyway, sorry. I live right on a road. And this is me, the myth destroyer. I am here to destroy those myths. So please understand that all of those thoughts you've had, they're valid and they come from a good place, but they're wrong. I am going to show you how wrong they are. And who am I to tell you about this? Well, let me tell you a little bit about me. So I have a son. I have never been married, and you can actually have a child without having a husband. And in a lot of ways, I would recommend it. It's got its pluses and minuses. But I do also have 2 bestsellers under my belt, which I am very proud of. They continue to sell very like hotcakes right into this, up until this day. I have 2 cats and 2 rabbits. Now, the 2 cats were very much, chosen kind of pedigree, spoilt. The 2 rabbits, on the other hand, they bounced into my yard and have not left, and they have eaten everything, and they continue to eat everything. And guess what? The cats are scared of the rabbits. So this is really strange. I sort of look at them and think surely it should be the other way around, but no, it's not so. Okay, I love books, I love writing, and I love chocolate, but I'm not allowed to have chocolate, and I allow myself hot chocolate because I am a chocolate addict, and I know that if I start, I can't stop. In fact, I had a flatmate once who would hide chocolate from me because I would just eat it if it was within sight. And but what she did, she was a very organized girl, and she had a filing cabinet, and she hid it under C in her filing cabinet. So I found it. So it was like, yeah, that didn't work, Karen. Anyway, okay, I hate speller, and I hate spelling, can't spell. And I also hate conformity. So yeah, I kind of like to buck the system. I like to look at things in a different way. I am very opinionated. I'm here to show you that you can be a bad speller and dyslexic and still write a good book. I also am self-employed. I've always lived off my own wits, and for the better or worse, I don't know. So that's me. That's who I am. Here are my books. Here are my babies. Both best sellers. 10 Years Younger continues to be a #1 bestseller today, a year after its publication. That is something that doesn't happen unless you have a book that is following all of the advice I'm giving you today. Now, the first book, I didn't follow that advice myself because I didn't know about it. And this is my next book. Don't worry about that blue background. It's just because I couldn't do white on white, but that is it. Green Smoothie Detox. As you can see, I continue with my passions, so that one will be published soon. Okay, but today, these are the 6 steps. So let's go through them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6 steps to self-publish. It's this easy, guys. I swear to you that self-publishing is the go if you are thinking or dreaming about it. So #1, a clickable cover. Now, let me go back to my covers. I am going to go into every single one of these aspects. Just to have a look at those covers, though, you need to think about what makes someone click. That's what I call a clickable cover. Super important. You need it to be edited for ease of reading. Cannot emphasize this enough. You cannot just put up something that you've written without it being edited by a professional or by someone who really knows their stuff if it's not a professional. Not by you, although you want to edit it as well. More about that in a moment. Formatted for a professional look across all platforms. What do I mean by that? So you have seen on Amazon, you can buy a book that's a Kindle book. That's what we call affectionately an e-book. Or you can buy a book that is a hard copy, which is affectionately known as a, excuse me, a print book. I don't know if it's affectionately known as that. And they're going to look different from each other. Not only that, let's go back to the print book is going to, obviously, once it's printed, that's what it's going to look like. But the ebook, the Kindle version or the electronic version, that will be different depending on whether your buyer reads it on, like a Kindle Fire or a Kindle Paperwhite, or on their computer Kindle reader device, or on their iPhone or their Android phone. You see, every single platform will make it look a bit different. And that's why you need it properly formatted. Now, don't overthink this. It's not actually that complicated. But the point is that if you don't get it properly formatted, or you don't format it yourself, you can do it yourself, it's going to look weird on different platforms. It'll look different and it won't look professional. Choose your categories. I'm going to give you some sneaky tips for that. Have a description that sells, and then publish that baby. So these are the 6 steps. This is what we are going to be going through today. So let's start. So this is my, I'm an absolute fan of mind maps. I use them to map out my books, my chapters within my books, my concepts for my books, my trainings around my books. Everything is mind mapped. I just find it's a very good way to access information. So let's start with the first one, the cover. Okay. 2 things. Who does your cover and how much does it cost? First thing I'm going to say about this is you got to outsource your cover. Without a shadow of a doubt, somebody professional has to do this, and not just your friend who says that they're pretty good at, doing, that they can do it and they know how to do covers and stuff. No, because let me show you what a good cover versus a bad cover looks like and the result for you. Now, the next thing I have there is the price, how much you pay for a cover. And let me just touch on that. I believe that the minimum you're probably going to pay for a cover is $100. So you can get a decent cover for $100. You will definitely pay a lot more for a better cover. But if you pay less, like if you're paying $5 on Fiverr or even $20 on Fiverr, you're just not going to get a cover that pops, or what I call a clickable cover. And let me show you some examples. Okay. So I know it's a bit cruel, but look, the first one is clearly one. This is the kind of cover that gives self-publishing a bad name. There's so much wrong with this. I don't even know where to begin. This is what and look, bless this person, WB Writer. It's really said their name, God. Bless their cotton socks. They probably thought that they did a stellar job. But the point is that on a subconscious level, as a buyer, as a browser on Amazon, we see that and we know that is an amateur cover. So many things tell us that. The actual font, the colors, the way the font is put together, the way the picture, just so many things on a subliminal level. You don't have to know anything about design to know that this is not well done. This, obviously, I'm talking about the first one. Now, the second one, like simple as simple, but it gives a feeling. There's an emotion that comes with that instantly, and clearly professionally done. I mean, I get the feeling that Michael Skerker probably paid a lot more than $100 for this cover. So cost doesn't mean complex. It can mean simplicity. It can mean paring everything back. You know, this gives a feeling, an emotion. The point is that it is a clickable cover. And here's two more, a bad example versus a good example. Now, you don't have to get clever with like this one here. You don't have to get clever with pictures. You can actually have no pictures. Some of the best covers are all font. But, you know, the first one is kind of really wrong on so many levels, apart from the colors, the fact that you can't even read the writing, you know, dark on dark. There's so many weird things going on. And again, you know, you can see that someone actually put a lot of effort into this cover, but because it wasn't done by a professional, they missed the mark. I mean, when I talk about a professional, I'm talking about someone who has, you know, been designing for years, has perhaps thousands of hours under their belt. They really know their craft. Versus the second one where you kind of, there's just so many, there's so many things right about it that make it a clickable cover. Now, you know, I'm not here to train you on cover design, because that obviously is a whole thing in itself. But the point is that get a professional to do it, because you might be good at writing, but you're not going to be good at cover design. You might even be able to do a passable cover, but will you do a clickable cover? Because this is how people are going to see your cover. They have a split second to look at your cover versus 20 others on the same page. In a post-it, they won't be able to read anything on your cover, but they'll have a very short amount of time to go, oh, that one, and that's where most people are going to see your book. We're not talking about people that you send to your book. We're talking about browsers. So pay for a cover. Can't emphasize it enough. All right. And any questions? Drop them in there. Now, look. Oh, okay. Let me see. One of the things. Oh, did that? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Just let me know. Have you tried designing your own cover and found it a challenge? I should show you photos of the first cover that I did, because let me give you another little heads up, something that I do. I do design my own covers, but not for the world to see. For me, when I write a book, I like to have a kind of working title and a working cover, something to hang my hat on when I'm sitting down at the computer. But you know, these I'll show you one day what those original covers look like, and you can see that they lose a lot in translation. Okay, but let's move on to the next one, because this is really important. This is what sets your book apart. Once you have convinced people to click because your cover has done its job, the next thing is, you know, what does your book look like inside? Sorry, not what does it look like, how does it read? And again, you need to outsource this. How much does that cost? We're going to go into that, and what are the different types of editing. So first of all, we have content editing, we have copy proofreading. Oh, let's go through each of those. Sorry. So content editing. Now, I personally don't get this done, and that's because I do my own content editing. And this is something you can do yourself if you have that ability to kind of have the big picture view of your book. Basically, it is probably more often used for fiction, where you have a narrative that you are following that can get twisted and messed up if you don't do it carefully, and an editor will set you on the right track. But with a nonfiction, I think it's the way that I do it is I do 5 to 6 edits myself, which is where I go through the whole book, not looking for typos or anything, but looking at the content, the flow, the way that it reads, the story it tells, the journey it takes my reader on, and then rearranging things as needed. I also run it past a few beta readers or people who have got skills in this area, people who are very well read, people who know what they're talking about and can give me really honest feedback. And that's the content editing that I do. Now, you can get away with that yourself if you put the work in. The copy editing This is pretty important. This is where probably most of us do need to outsource and pay for a professional editor. They'll be looking at spelling inconsistencies. This way you spelt it like the American way here, you spelt it the British way there, like all those kind of things. They look for clarity. So this is really important, and you will not be able to do this for yourself, I swear to you, because you don't see these mistakes yourself. When you know what you meant to say, you don't see it. I swear you'll be so surprised when someone does point these things out. Proofreading is kind of like an additional extra. That's just like the final, when everything's ready to go, getting an editor to give it a final proofread, just to make sure that all the changes that you put in from the previous editing, haven't then, stuffed things up, or there's no other typos. So you don't always have to get that done. Clearly, you do want to make sure that it's that it is proofread. But those are the three main types of copywriting. So costs. Let's say we're talking about a 20,000 word book. Now, these are very much rough estimates. Don't quote me on them. It's just to give you a ballpark idea. So for a 20,000 word book, they generally charge per word, but again, not always. You are looking for content editing. Clearly is the most expensive, because that's really deep, kind of pulling it apart type stuff. So you could pay up to $15,000. In fact, you could pay more. But that's kind of the ballpark, $700 to $1,500. Copy editing, $300 to $500-ish ballpark again, and the proofreading, which is the cheapest, because it really is just a quick read through. You might get away with $80 up to a couple hundred. So rough idea of cost of editing. Let me give you some tips. Now, as I've already said, you don't really have to worry about content editing for nonfiction. And if you self-edit 2 to 6 times, minimum 2 times, really, I would say that's the absolute minimum. When you do hand your manuscript off to the the editor, it is really tight, so they don't have a lot to do. And then use beta readers. These are people who, as I've already mentioned, people who know the craft. Either, maybe they have a background in the particular area you're writing about, or perhaps they have a background as a teacher, or, they have some kind of knowledge. So maybe, I have a few people that I can call on for that, and they give me very honest feedback. It is invaluable. And you could get away with just proofreading. I'd probably recommend at least doing the copy editing too, though. Okay, so any questions? I'm not seeing any. I think today I don't think we've got a huge group today. I know that there was a few people that signed up, but the timing's a bit funny for some people. So I know quite a few people are getting the replay. So I can see we're not getting too many questions, but please feel free to drop them in there because I will answer them. Okay, so formatting. Let me give you the ins and outs of formatting. This is really important to know, and this is probably the bit that kind of trips people up and makes them go, I'll just get someone else to do it. It's too hard, all too hard. Okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to outsource it, or are you going to learn it yourself? Now, that is an option to learn it yourself. There are some really good YouTube videos teaching you how to do it, and I have gone through and listened to those YouTube videos. Give yourself a day or so to put the work in and to learn it. It's not hard. It's basically formatting Word. And the YouTube videos, if you just Google it, how to format a book for Kindle, how to format a book for CreateSpace, you'll find them on YouTube, and they're very comprehensive. It's not difficult, but you can pay between $40, and I did see someone quoting $250, which I thought was a bit of a rip-off, but I guess that that's their prerogative. I paid $50 the second time. The second time I did my book, I paid $50. Now, you need two different types. You need one for the electronic and one for the hard copy, unless you're only doing an electronic. So the Kindle is done in Word, and the CreateSpace is done in, or print on demand is done as a PDF or a .mobi file, which is turned into a PDF. I think I've got that right. Oh my God, sometimes I get these mixed up. Anyway, the point is you will be starting with Microsoft Word. And to get it ready for CreateSpace, you may want to actually get a professional to do it, just because it will look a little bit better when someone else has done it. But again, if money is an issue, learn it yourself, guys. This is not hard. But if you don't want to learn it yourself, pay someone a very small amount of money, $50, $100 at the most, to get this done. And as I've already touched on, it is a different version for each of those. How much does it cost? As I've already said, yeah, you could get a combo for about $100 to get them both done. If you look around, I have definitely seen plenty of places that do it for $50. So yeah, like it's not a huge expense. So I guess if we add up the last three things, we're looking at, say, minimum $100 for a cover. Let's say $100 for the formatting, and maybe $100 or $200 for the editing. You could definitely get a very high quality stand up there with the best of them book on Amazon for $400. And you could even sort of cut some corners, do the formatting yourself, and get the editing. You could keep those costs down with some of the tips I've given you, which means that you could be spending $150, $200. So, I hope that dispels the cost myth a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm already going, I'm ahead of myself. YouTube lessons, yeah, a few hours, some basic computer skills, but honestly, it's not difficult. Okay, I've already gone through all this. That's a good tip though. You do get, before you publish your book, or when you're in the process of publishing your book, you get to upload the formatted version that you have into what they call the Kindle app. Like it's called a Kindle app, and you get to look at it, what it will look like across the different versions, and that's very useful way to find out if there's some inconsistencies, or if, oh, that looks weird, or oh my gosh, that that really didn't come across well, or whatever. So you do get to test it before you sort of send it out there to the whole world. Okay, now one of the things that people don't always take into account is that when you are publishing your book in an electronic version, that images or charts, anything that you upload as an image, is just going to look dreadful. Most of the time, if someone has, unless they have, like, they're reading it on their iPad or a Kindle Fire, I think it is the color version, they're going to be seeing it in black and white. It doesn't, you can't zoom in on it. It's just, honestly, try to avoid images in your book if you can. It just, doesn't translate very well. And a tip for the print book, you make sure it's at least 120 pages long. And of course, that's going to kind of depend on the size you choose. There's like 5x8 or 6x9. I think there's a few different sizes that you can choose, and that will define how many pages you end up with. If you don't have enough pages, what will happen is the spine won't be wide enough to print your title on, so it will be blank, and that really doesn't look very good. So at least 120 pages to get, decent size. Okay, let's keep moving. So categories. This is really simple. With categories, this is something that you choose but can change at any time. So don't get too hooked up on them. I think some people get very overwhelmed. They get to that kind of, they're right at the top of the slippery dip, about to step over the edge and slide down into the world of authordom, and they get sort of hooked up on this categories thing. Look, it doesn't matter that much. It kind of like to especially if you're playing the bestseller game and you really want your book to rank well. Honestly, it doesn't make a massive amount of difference. But the thing that happens is Amazon will override your choices anyway if they see that you'll perform better in a different category. So that's something that I learned. But I suggest you have a competitive and a non-competitive category when you choose your first two. So competitive category would be one that is like let's say my book 10 Years Younger, which is all about healthy stuff. So health and what's it called? Health and fitness, I think I put in. So you could choose your first category, health and fitness. Now that's a really tough category to rank in. It's a major category, not a sub category. But clearly my book fits fairly and squarely in that category. Now I could, so I might choose that as my first category, and then as my second category, I would choose a really more sub one like women's health. So health and fitness, subcategory women's health, subcategory aging. Now, much easier to rank in that category, right? Because there's less competition than health and fitness, which is a massive category. So you choose one that's kind of like your holy grail of categories, and then you choose another one that is got a lot of sub categories in it, and easier for you to rank. There's lots of ways you can play with it, but the main thing to remember is you can change this at any point. You can go in to the back end of your book, the day after you publish it, or the week after you publish it, or a year after you publish it, and change any of this. So don't get hooked up on it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so here are some examples. That is meant to say EGS as in examples, not eggs. Business book, so you could say in your competitive category. Oh, I gave you the examples with my book, so don't worry about that. Okay, that's categories. It's simple. Don't overthink it, guys. Now, next one, description. Really, really important. Oh my goodness, I cannot emphasize. And I did a tear down with someone the other day, and I'm going to share that with you because, sorry, that should say 4,000 words, not 400 words. Your description is your sales page. You see that thing under there, it says WIIFM. What's in it for me? That is the question you need to be answering in your description. It is a sales page. What's in it for me is basically means what's in it for them. Like that is what your reader is thinking. They don't want to know, oh, this is a book about that, and I wrote it over 6 years and it's about, they like, just answer this question. What's in it for me? Just answer that, and that's what you need to know. It has to be benefit driven. This is where, so I have a background also as a copywriter, and this is where my marketing skills really come into play. You got to look at this as how this is selling your book. It's got to have a call to action on it as well. So don't forget that. I see it all the time. People forget the call to action. Now, I'm going to show you a before and after. This is a book. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. I'm just going to read it out, and then I'll give you a bit of feedback, and then I'll show you my revamped version of it. So, have you ever dreamed of crossing the Alcan, dodging moose, bear, and caribou? Here is your chance to ride along on an epic road trip through British Columbia, Yukon, and Alaska itself. The author spent 3 summers in Alaska in the 70s and had dreamed of the land of the midnight sun ever since. Finally, in the spring of 2017, he entrusted body and soul to his 21-year-old Subaru Outback and set out on a solo journey across some of the loneliest roads in Canada and Alaska. He encountered glaciers, every type of wildlife imaginable, the iconoclastic people of Alaska, and the most gorgeous scenery in America. Stuffed full of 100 photographs, this book will show you what it's like to drive the Alaska Highway, the Dalton Highway, go above the Arctic Circle and see both the northmost and westernmost points of the United States. Now, like, it's not bad, okay? It's not a bad description, but it doesn't answer the what's in it for me. That's what it should do. It's not, if I'm a complete random browser who knows nothing about this author, I guess maybe I've got some interest in travel and so forth. Why do I need to know that his that it was a Subaru Outback, the car he had, that it was 21 years old, that he went there in the 70s and then he was dreaming it? Like, why do I need to know that? How is that making me excited about this book? So there's a lot of good stuff in here, and then there's a lot of what I would call superfluous stuff that doesn't sell the book. It doesn't take it to the next level at all. So this is the teardown that I did, what I would say the after version. Is your spirit of adventure alive? Find out what it's really like to cross the Alcan and travel some of the loneliest and most spectacular parts of North America. If you dream of packing up your four-wheel drive, your snow boots and camera and setting off to explore the wilderness, this book will give you a rare glimpse into the land of the midnight sun of moose and monumental glaciers. Join the author on his epic solo road journey through British Columbia, Yukon and Alaska. Part personal odyssey, part sumptuous traveler's guide. Take an expedition into one of the last remaining wildernesses. If you hunger for adventure and want to discover the untouched beauty, go and click the Buy Now button to experience the majesty of the untouched North for yourself. Now, can you see how this is aimed? I mean, I used a lot of, obviously I used a lot of the wording that was from his original one, but this is now aimed at attracting the reader and telling them what they're going to get out of it. Is your spirit of adventure alive? Obviously that should say your, not you. Is your spirit of adventure alive? If you dream of packing up your four-wheel drive, now this is where I don't care about his four-wheel drive. I care about mine. So I'm there. This is me trying to get in the head of the reader. Are they someone who's sitting there dreaming about these things? Then, I tell them it's part sumptuous traveler's guide, part personal odyssey. So I'm giving them an idea of what the book's about, what they're going to get out of it. Take an expedition into the last remaining wilderness. So I'm using a lot of the same words, but it's just the way it's aimed. And then obviously the most important part is the call to action. If you want this, which is the to discover the untouched beauty, go click the Buy Now button. You got to give people a call to action. So this is the description done in a fashion that is, turns it into a sales page. So does that make sense? Can you see the difference between those? And can you see how one will have a different effect than another? I hope so. I hope that is making sense, guys. So finally, this is it. This is the final of the 6 steps, and this is the publish. 24 to 48 hours, which actually I discovered is 72 hours. Upload your cover and manuscript. Look, guys, this is it. So you've got your manuscript, which is basically your Kindle document and or your print document, which have both been formatted correctly, and you have the image for your cover. You then you upload both of these things into Amazon, and you have a 24 to 72 hour wait. Now, I usually find it is more like 24 hours, but please don't leave yourself short. If you've sort of planned a launch or something, you need to get it up there with, at least 3 to 4 days to spare, just in case, because they do say it can take 72 hours, and I have had one book where it did take that long. So it usually only takes about 24, but this is it. Basically, you after you've uploaded your manuscript, checked it in the Kindle checker. Now, when you do a CreateSpace or a print book through CreateSpace, you have the option to order a dummy, or what do they call it, a proof copy. So you will do that, and they'll send it out to you, and you can obviously check, then final check for any mistakes or things that didn't quite come across, and then correct them. The final thing you do, see that yellow button there? Publish your Kindle ebook. And obviously when you're doing the CreateSpace, it'll have the same button there. That's it, guys. That's it. Those are the 6 steps to self-publish. So I really hope that I have demystified and and totally simplified this process for you, because I've just dropped a link in the chat box there. And what I want you to know is that once you've done all this, how do you sell your book? It's called the marketing of your book. So once you've done those 6 steps, and honestly, these are they're not that difficult, right? Anyone can do them. But how do you get people to buy your book? If you've done those 6 steps correctly, especially the cover, editing, and formatting, a lot of your inbuilt marketing is done. I call it the reader enticement psychology. And in my course, The Success Author System, we go into this in great detail. I've obviously touched on it today, but there are some other elements that I delve into, things like how to get email addresses from the people of Amazon, so that you're actually building your email list through your book. Then you use what I call the leveraged launch, which is it's basically riding the algorithm. How to ride the algorithm wave, how to use that to sell your book. Again, this is not rocket science. This is not super hard, but you do have to know how to do it. And I use both of these things. How I use the reader enticement psychology. Okay, first of all, my author page. This is my ABCDEF of reader enticement psychology. All of the things that are going to, and we just went into the description. I gave you an idea of how you can make a description that sells. In the Success Author System, which is my new offer, I'm going to go through that in great detail in a moment, but that is where we cover off these 6 things in great detail. The leveraged launch involves a pricing strategy, a promotion strategy, and a launch team, and the tease, please, squeeze method that you use with your launch team. So the pricing strategy is basically what price to put your book up and when to change it from free to 99 cents, when to change it from 99 cents to $2.99. And honestly, those things do make a difference. If you do this smart, you will ride the algorithm wave. You will be like those surfers that get ahead of the wave and just go woo. And that's what I teach in the Success Author System. That's the whole purpose. It's what I use for both of my books. Okay, I rode the algorithm for both of these. It helped them get to bestseller. Now that's going to get them to bestseller. It's not going to keep them there, but it will definitely get them there. The thing that kept them there, that was the reader enticement psychology. So this is my book a couple of days ago. Whenever you want to look at how well a book's doing, these are the 3 things you look at. First of all, when was it published? Second of all, what is its overall rank in the whole of the Kindle store? And third of all, what is its rank in its chosen categories? Now, have a look there. The thing that shows that this book, which is my book, 10 Years Younger, has done particularly well is, first of all, it was published over a year ago. So, what are we now? July. This is May. So 2016, and we're in 2017. We're talking about, like 14, 15 months ago. And it's number 1,500. Now, I will dispel this a little bit. It has been sitting at around 20,000 or so for most of the year after the initial launch. When your book initially launches, for the first 2 or 3 months, you will get a bump from Amazon and your book will definitely perform better. But to continue to perform well, it has to be organic sales. It has to be selling itself. So it has become so popular at the moment that number 1,500 in the whole of Amazon is because Amazon selected my book to put into a particular like this thing called Prime Reader, and that has really given it a bump in both sales and obviously ranking. Having said that, ranking at 20,000 a year on is still really good, because most books drop down to like, 1 million or something like that. So to be holding your own in 20,000 and still being in the top 20 within your categories, that is a book that is doing well. That's a book that's selling maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 books a day, which is what mine's doing. So, that indicates that, people are interested in your book and the cover's working and so on. Okay, so your bestseller in all its categories a year on. So let me talk to you about the system that I used and the system that I want to share with you. This is the Sow, Cultivate, Harvest system. This is how we're going to get that book out of your head into the world and selling. So it is my secret to success, and I work this out because it is a unique system. I've certainly taken some inspiration from other things, but most of this has come from trial and error, and it has come from my marketing and copywriting background. So I know what sells, and I know how to make something appealing to someone. And I think a lot of authors don't know this. Now, this is the whole course broken down for you. We have the sow section, the cultivate, and the harvest section. So basically in the sow section, we're going to be looking at the foundation. How do you pick an idea and validate the idea for your book? Because there's no point having a book that people don't want to read. I know that sounds, but this is the thing. If you just go, oh, I want to write a book about this, but you don't do a bit of research, do people want to read a book about this? Now this is where my marketing hat comes on, because that doesn't mean if your research shows that nobody wants to read this book, well, hey, best to know that up front. But second of all, sometimes you can just tweak your USP, which is your unique selling proposition. Sometimes you can just tweak that, and that will then, by tweaking that, what you'll do is you will have a different angle that's going to make your book more saleable. IR stands for your ideal reader. Super important to understand before you even begin to write. Now, if you've already started writing, you can apply this stuff retrospectively. So don't worry, I go through how you do that. Now, the next section, this is my favorite section. We have touched on some of this. This is the ABCs of marketing your book. This is how to make sure that you produce a book that, like mine, is going to continue to sell every single day, years in. Sell and sell and sell. That means people are getting your message. People are reading your book. People want to hear what you have to say. So by using this inbuilt reader enticement and the inbuilt marketing technique, this is how you do it. So that is the whole section on Cultivate. And finally, the leverage launch or the harvest, which is where we go into how you actually do the publishing, a bit about the tech stuff, some shortcuts and how you promote your book, but mainly it's around how you work with a launch team. That's what this section is all about. So you need to know this, the tease, please, squeeze method, how you get a launch team to do what you want them to do, and how easy it is to get a launch team. You don't need to know a million people. You only need to know 5 or 10 people. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be engaged. And so the whole training in Harvest is how to make sure your team is engaged. Okay, so that's the system, the Success Author System. This is everything that's in it. This course in its full will eventually sell for just under $500. That's sort of what I've had it, I guess, valued at. This is what things that are comparable are selling for or more. But I am offering this at a very reduced price only for the next, I think, 10 days I've got left of the cart. Anyway, only for the next, let's say, week or so, it's going to be at a vastly reduced price. Now, where you want to go is to successauthorsystem.com. So just type that in or click on the link, successauthorsystem.com. So as I said, I am offering this because this is the first time I have offered this course. I'm putting it out at an introductory offer. And I'm going to include a couple of bonuses. First of all, the masterclass that I did called Irresistible Opt-in Offers for Authors. This was a 1-hour masterclass where the training was all about how to create a bonus that you put in the front of your book so you collect email addresses from Amazon. Now, this is kind of like the holy grail, and believe me, I get people signed up to my email list every single day from my books. Every single day I'm getting new people signing up. So, you know, it's a very powerful thing if you to get right. But I find most authors, they miss the boat on this. They either don't do it at all or they get it wrong. So this is a really powerful bonus that people, once you get this right, your book, it's almost like a license to print money. I mean, if your book is all about your business, then you gotta have this. Now, yes, I have been selling this separately for $67 on its own. Okay, next bonus is mind mapping your book masterclass. Now, as you can see, from today, I'm a little bit of a fan of mind maps. I do like how they work, but using them to write a book, to map it out from beginning to end, to outline your book, its chapters and everything. There's some techniques that I talk about. What is a mind map? What isn't a mind map? Is it just a brain dump? How do you use it? How do you use it to enhance your creativity? But most importantly, how do you use it to save time? Because this will take weeks off your writing process if you get this right. So this bonus sells on its own for $67. And this, as I said, it's a huge shortcut method. This is how, if you do want to save a lot of time, you definitely want to be using mind maps in the most effective way possibly. So Success Author System is where you're going to go. And as I said, I'm offering this at a very low price. The low price is $97. So that is what we basically have nearly $600 worth of value there. No, $700 worth of value there. And it's at the moment, for now, it is at $97. So if that sounds like a good price to you, what you're going to want to do is pop on over to the successauthor.com. That's where the sales page is. What you'll see there is you'll have two options. My mentoring option is what a lot of people are interested in as well, and that's working one-on-one with me. So basically that will be 2 payments of $149, and that will include the whole course plus 4 one-on-one sessions with me. And we can do pretty much anything in the mentoring session. We can do work on your cover and title. We can do work on the actual writing habits, how to sort of be more productive. We can do stuff on your author bio, on your description, all of those kind of things. Timeline coaching. So yeah, there's a lot of options how to work with a launch team. If you want to dive into some of these things deeper, then the mentoring option, again, this is at a very reduced price. I do usually charge about twice this amount for sessions with me, and it doesn't include the course. So I'm really, I guess, I'm really wanting a lot of people to jump in and get this course, and this is going to be another way to do it. So this is what you're going to do. First of all, you click on the link, successauthor.com. It's going to take you to I'm going to come back to that. It's going to take you to the sales page. It looks like this, and you're going to scroll down the sales page till you get to here. Now, these blue boxes are where you have the option to either join for a single payment of $97, and that is for the entire course, or for 2 payments of $149, and that is for the mentoring option as well as the entire course. Now, I do have any limited spots available for the mentoring option, so if you are interested in that, you want to move quickly. So what it's going to do when you click on your option, it will take you to a page that looks something like this, where you've got to fill in your name and your address and all these things. It's just the way the thing works. Basically, when you fill in all those things, including your password and username, which please do remember what they are, you then click Pay Now on the PayPal thing, and that's where it's going to take you to PayPal. And then obviously you do your PayPal thing, and then you're in. Then you've got instant access. Now, the fast action bonus, this is for people that are interested in getting my assistance with your description. So if you do purchase this in the next 24 hours, in the next 24 hours, basically what you're going to get is a tear down. See how I did that? I want to go back to here. The teardown that I did for the previous that description, I'll do something very similar like that with your description. So that's if you purchase in the next 24 hours. By this time tomorrow, you've got 24 hours to make that decision to part with that $97. And this is what you're going to get. You're going to get the Sow, Cultivate and Harvest, which is and sorry about, I don't know why that's running over there, but I think you know what it says. What's in the box? So foundations for your book topic, Cultivate, the reader enticement marketing plan, the Harvest, which is your leverage launch system. I forgot to say, I have a whole timeline in there. I have an Excel spreadsheet which has the timeline for your launch. People will have bought this as a standalone thing on its own because it is so useful. You get bonus 1, irresistible offers, and you get bonus 2, which is the mind map your book. So you get all of this, and what you just need to do is jump onto successauthorsystem.com now and go through those steps as I've described. Now, I really hope that I have demystified this whole system and that you are feeling and that you're feeling a lot more confident about publishing your book. My goal is that you embrace this technology and that you feel empowered to become an author, to share what's in your heart with the rest of the world, to let us know what beautiful knowledge you have, what skills, what unique information you have to share with the world. Because I can tell you that becoming an author was such an incredible, it still is such an incredible journey, and I really want to share that with you. I really want you to get the most out of it. Now, all the information I've given you today, you can take that and go publish your book. Obviously, I would love for you to join the Success Author System. I would love you to join there because that will give you, I guess, the edge. It will give you it'll put you ahead of the pack. It will mean that your book is far more likely to do well having applied all of these systems that I explain in the Success Author System. So, basically, of course, I would love for you to join me there. But I also, when I do these webinars, my goal is to give a lot of value. And I hope that I have achieved that today. I hope that you feel confident and like, yeah, I can do this. Self-publishing is easy. Self-publishing is, something I can do. So I hope that I have demystified that for you. That was my goal. And I would love to see you inside the Success Author System. I would really enjoy having you as part of that particular course. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to get a lot from it. And if you think it's for you, then jump on over to that link that I have given you. Check it out. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. I know you would have my email address, and see if this is for you. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a blast. All the best to you and your book. I would like to see you becoming a published author. I would like to see you getting that book out of your head into the world and selling. And if you want to see that too, then come join me. All right. Bye.